So it's about that time for school lunches. And guess what they have been out of at the store? I think like maybe even, like at least 3 weeks in a row now, are the Smucker's Uncrustable sandwiches, which are Langston's favorite. And so I've given up trying to find them at the store. I've made Uncrustables before. He doesn't really like the homemade version without the little pleated things. So I went ahead and invested in the Uncrustable little sandwich maker, which has 2 rings and is super easy to use. It's like $12 on Amazon. And I'm gonna show you how I make his meal prep and freeze these little guys so that I can just grab a couple of them and pop them in his bag and out the door. He likes to have 2 sandwiches for his lunch. So I start with, of course, bread. Langston's picky about his bread. He wants it as close to an Uncrustable that is store-bought as possible. So I've gone ahead and laid out 10 pieces of sandwich bread, peanut butter. With the Uncrustables, it's not overloaded with the peanut butter in their sandwiches. The Smucker's version, I've studied the amounts because, again, he's very picky and it has to be an exact replica or he will not take it. I shouldn't say picky because due to his diagnosis, it's called selective eating as opposed to picky eating, meaning it's more of a neurological thing with textures and sensibility of the food that he puts in his mouth. So it's more of a brain function than choosing not to eat something on a picky basis. But in any event, it is fun to try to replicate the things that he likes that aren't initially homemade when he discovers them. So I go ahead and spread a decent amount, but it's not thick. You can see it's a nice thin spread of the peanut butter. We're also going to do a thin spread of the jelly. Make sure there are no clumps, because if there is a clump of jelly, that's going to give it away that it's a homemade sandwich and not an Uncrustable from the store. Now, the fact that the Uncrustables come in nice little packages, I found that he will compromise on that as long as it's in a Ziploc bag. It still is coming out of some kind of a plastic bag, and so he will be fine with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the peanut butter again on all of these sandwiches and then switch over to the jelly. I like to use Welch's squeezable jelly. You can use any squeezable jelly. The squeezable kind is going to be a little bit better for a thin spread than the jelly out of just a jar because it's a little thinner. It's not as clumping and thick of a jelly, but if you do have jelly in a jar, you can mash it with a fork and get it to be thinner. You can also soften it in the microwave just a little bit to get it to be a little thinner to spread. So I've got 5 pieces with the peanut butter, and then with the jelly, this is again a squeezable kind, so we're just going to go ahead and take one little squeeze or so, and we're going to spread that around, and we might. So you can kind of see about how much I put on the jelly and on the peanut butter. So I'm just going ahead and spreading that jelly across each of these pieces of bread. Initially it looks like there's almost not enough, but again, with the thin spread, it does cover the whole piece of bread. If you have sensory selective eaters, then you want to make sure that you don't have clumps of things because that will provide a texture challenge. So it's always great if you can get it right. Otherwise, in Langston's case, he will throw it in the garbage. If it is not right, he will just throw it away and not eat. And the whole point of food, of course, is to get that nutrition in. And PB&J is not the most, unnutritious or health deficit food in the world. It does have some carbs and fat and a little bit of protein as well. Try and pick a bread that has a little more protein than its competitors as far as a white bread, but still you want a bread that is texture-wise very similar to what the Uncrustable sandwiches use if you're trying to replicate those exactly for a texture sensitive kid. So we went ahead and did all of the, you know, all 5 of the sandwich bread pieces with the light jelly spread, and we've got the peanut butter, and of course then you just pop those little babies on top and make your sandwiches as you would typically make with any kind of a sandwich. And then you're going to go ahead and get your nice little device. So this little tool has 2 parts, one circle and one kind of clamper. So the circle part is what we're going to use first, and we're just going to cut off the crust with that. And you can see the crust just kind of comes away. And then you can go ahead and put that middle part in, and you can see just kind of in the inside there where it just like seals it down. And that is the part that makes it really look like the Smucker's Uncrustables with the little fluting around the edges. And that really makes it a replica, so that if you have a kid who really likes the exact same thing as a brand name, then this is going to be your go-to. So again, we're just going to go ahead and cut off the crust with the big circle. I don't know, the crust is always my favorite part of bread. Now I can't eat grains anymore, so yeah, I don't eat any bread, but I miss it. I like the crust the best, but some kids really don't like the crust. So anyways, voila, you have a nice little sealed sandwich that comes out of that little thing. I used to just use a cup to cut these, like a mug or a glass that was wide, to cut just a circle, and that kind of makes just a sandwich, just a circle sandwich. But Langston really does like that look of the Uncrustable, the fluted little edge that makes it special. So it's worth it. It's only 12 bucks for this little thing, and so I think it's worth it to invest in a little $12 device if it gets your kid to eat their food more, and also saves money ultimately on those Smucker's Uncrustables that are definitely a little spendy. If you spend just on 1 box of those things, it would be the same price as getting this little cutter. So I think it was a worthy investment. After you're done cutting the sandwiches and fluting the edges, then I just like to go ahead and pop them in a Ziploc sandwich bag, which has a very similar look and feel to the little wrappers that they come in, and then pop them in the freezer. So you have, you know, if you prepare a week's worth of sandwiches at 2 per lunch, which Langston likes to eat 2 per lunch session. So that, you know, it means that he needs 10 of these little guys a week, and it's easy to accomplish that with a loaf of bread, some creamy peanut butter spread. I am using the Skippy's with no sugar added. You can use any creamy peanut butter. I'm using Welch's grape jelly with the squeezable, but you can use any squeezable. This is not like an endorsement for a specific brand. I'm using Sara Lee's sandwich bread, which again is just a white bread that has a very similar texture to that the white bread used in the Smucker's Uncrustables. So I hope this is helpful to another mom. I know that I've been looking for those Uncrustables in the store for weeks, like since the first week of school started, and they've been just sold out since week 1 here. Week 1 was August 5th here in Arizona. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. If not, cool. But you know, if you have a little one that really loves those Uncrustables, you know, get that tool on Amazon and make them at home. Put them in the Ziploc baggies, pop them in the freezer the day that you make them. It keeps them fresh. when you take them out in the morning and pop them in their backpack or lunchbox, they will have thawed by the time lunch comes around, and should be the perfect freshness and temperature for them to eat. So hope this helps. Happy school year to all the moms and the kids. Of course, if you don't have kids but like to have little girlfriend parties or little get-togethers, baby showers, bridal showers, whatever, you could also use this just to make some fancy little sandwiches and make it look catered. So you could put any kind of filling inside of them and just have little sealed fluted edge sandwiches. So cheers, use it for whatever makes sense in your life.